we are headed to Costco to see the product in stores on the floor for the first time. There's always like the nervous feeling when you go see the item, right? For the first time, like when it just lands into the store, because you're hoping it looks good, it presents well, it's merchandised the way that you had set up and arranged, and the way you submitted it, and the way you had ordered it, and the way you had kind of planned it. Like, I feel like my report card's coming, or like one of those moments where you're just like a little edgy, like I hope it turned out okay.
Mine would never show up.
So the item we're gonna go see today is the ESPN Virtual Reality set. We had approached ESPN with an idea that we wanted to teach kids about sports and everything, sports related, being rules and strategy, exhilaration of like getting kids into stadiums, getting kids on fields, on the ice, not in an interactive way, but more as an educational tool to kind of just, absorb the different facets of every sport. Like, what is rugby? I still don't know how rugby works. You know what I mean? I still don't know the rules of like cricket, for example. I genuinely don't know how cricket is played, right? It was a dynamic experience into the world of sports, and what better partner than ESPN to, collaborate with in doing a sports theme kit. So then thus began all the trouble come with working with a big license like ESPN, which is of course Disney. Lawyers, you've got negotiations, you've got royalties, you've got, countless months of back and forth just to reach an agreement to figure out what the item is supposed to look like. I remember there's a ton of back and forth about what we were going to put inside the kit, like what was the actual hero item, the physical item that you would get with the toy. So if you know some of our items at Abacus, we do augmented reality and virtual reality kind of immersive experiences in a box and a gift set, and everything from dinosaurs to magic to cooking. There's a lot of back and forth on what was that hero toy physical piece that goes inside it, which at one point I really wanted water bottle, ESPN branded water bottle. Then it turned into maybe headbands or sweatband or some kind of wristband. Of course, the natural choice was to always just go with, everyone kept saying, what about a basketball? What about a golf ball? But my response to that was always going to be, then it's a tennis toy, then it's a basketball toy. I didn't want to pigeonhole it into one particular sport or demographic of an audience. I wanted to keep it wide open and just be a sporting toy, right? It's a sports item, right? Again, that's why I want to stay neutral, and a water bottle was the natural kind of, solution for that. Got a little pushback on that from different sides. So we ultimately ended up going with place medals, being like gold, silver, bronze medals. So you can kind of challenge your kids or your uncle or your dad or whatever in some fun games. Again, trying to stay neutral in something sporty and athletic without going and pigeonholing yourself into a specific sport. So that was the whole fiasco with what the actual thing was going to include. On a book level, all of a sudden now, look, you're doing an educational toy that teaches you about every single sport. I'm not going to go with our editorial team and write a sports almanac. We called our friends at Penguin Random House and DK, who were kind enough to help us collaborate and identify sports encyclopedia, and we used that as our initial baseline for everything. And then from there, once ESPN came into the picture, ESPN wanted their own touch on that book. When you have a trusted source like DK that's got a reputable book with, it's already been fact-checked and editorial checked and all of the checks and balances are cleared, then you get to bring in a partner like ESPN and they get to put their kind of touch on it with our support, and together now you have a kind of party deal, doing a licensing agreement and a collaboration on making a custom edition of a book that is going to be ESPN and Abacus branded, right? What we did then was reached out to Getty, and with the help of Getty, we were able to get licensing deals with Kobe Bryant, with Messi, with Ronaldo, with Tom Brady. We were able to go after all the GOATs. I wanted Michael Phelps in there. I wanted everyone that was reputable to be in the book and be featured in the book. That was a whole other process in itself. I think we spent upwards of $25,000 to $30,000 in additional licensing and image rights to be able to secure those athletes. And then go back to DK and I'll say, hey guys, can you update this book please to have these other athletes and this other layer of updated athletes that are more relevant to today's culture. And then came the VR component, right? Now we have to build a VR app. Now we have to build the entire ecosystem and the actual experience piece. We were trying to find a protagonist. We needed a voice. We needed someone that knew sports, that was passionate about sports and sports personalities, and that could convey a message to not just to kids, because this was not just a kids item for us. This was for dads and uncles. It was for moms, and it was for daughters. It was for whoever you wanted it to be that likes sports, which is everyone. You walk into any bar or any place in America, you see an ESPN, game on or channel on. It's because ESPN is just America. It's part of our American culture. And we were lucky enough to get Arda Ocal, who was my favorite ESPN correspondent and anchor, he was able to literally teleport us into Sportscenter. And when you play this toy, when you watch, some of the segments in virtual reality, I can't think of anyone that would have been better. I challenge someone to tell me who would have been better to be the lead dynamic persona that we needed and that we got out of Arda. We're forever grateful for his contribution to this toy because it truly made it something unique and different. We gave him the task of writing his own stuff. He goes, hey Arda, what's your favorite thing about hockey? Tell us. And he submitted scripts, and we were like, did you know like the racket in ping pong is black and red because the black and red have different like speeds, tensions, or uses during the game? That was wild. Remember that? We were like, what? That truly, I think, helped this product go to just another level. So we got a 150-page DK book and ESPN collab, and of course, the power of the Abacus Brands design team and app team that was able to just come in on a dev level and just crush. So I remember the first couple of videos. Remember we were traveling and we got the first submission of, I think it was the baseball VR. I was like, guys, this is like the proudest moment I've ever had. This is like the greatest piece of content that's ever left our building and just been created internally by us, and it was just a very, very, very cool moment for us. So one thing that I like to do as I'm in Costco, because I'm the psycho, the staff, some of the people think that they call it stalking people, but I do stalk people. I like to sit in, and it's not just Costco. I go into Walmart and Target and wherever our items are. I'll sit in a Barnes & Noble and pretend to be flipping through a magazine, but what I'm really doing is I'm observing buying behaviors. I'm observing the consumer pattern. I'm observing whether or not they walk past it, if they pick it up and touch it, how long do they hold it for before they buy it or put it down? Do they look at the back of the box? Are they scanning it and going online and reading something additional about the item? Are they opening it? Are they feeling for its weight? Are they shaking it to see what's inside, or if it feels like it has perceived value or an elevated level of a value? Crazy story, one time in Costco, Canada, and I remember standing there watching folks for a little while, and there was this one lady with her kid that was sitting there, and they picked up the item, they looked at it, kid looked at it, and then they put it back. This was the only time, okay, that I was inclined to, and I had to pretend I was just like a normal person. I couldn't be like the brand or like anybody that had anything to do with the item. That'd just be super weird. But I kind of quickly made myself, present at that moment. I was like, hey, excuse me, I'm curious. Like, why did you read something bad about this? Because I saw her like checking it. She was reviewing it. She was like on her phone. I was like, why did you not buy this? Why did you put it down? And she was like, oh, it's for ages 8+. I go, oh, obviously I knew that because I wrote it. I go, how old is she? Pointing at her kid, and she goes, she's 9. And all of a sudden it like occurred to me as a parent, you're like, okay, this is 8+. And I do that with Legos. When I'm shopping for Legos for a kid, if it's like their 10th birthday and I'm not buying 8+, you're looking for 10 or 11 or 12, you can always go up, but you're never gonna go down, right? That moment, that day at Costco changed my entire packaging process, where instead of just putting 8+, we would put 8 to 12, because you'd rather capture 100% of an 8 to 12 bracket and demographic than 10% of people that just think it's for 8-year-olds. So then we launched this item in Nuremberg at the biggest international toy fair in Germany. It was just a tremendous reaction. Different retailers, different buyers, different partners were very, very just keen and interested. I mean, we had spotlighted it as our featured kind of marquee item. And this is before we had started the app dev design. If you watch any of the other videos on this channel, this would be the pre-selling process where we're teasing it. We have an MVP, a minimum viable product that you can show and kind of tease in the market. And by doing so, we were able to secure some orders and commitments and bring the product to market, which obviously helps with the entire cash flow and the entire understanding of like, hey, we're going to go and spend X amount of money producing the item. And so all of that momentum, all of that planning, everything we did in the product development phase and stages boils down to now, to today, to this moment where you drive to the store and you see it on the pallet, on the floor for the first time. So fingers crossed on a successful program. And now comes the hardest part of the whole thing. We need the consumer, to like it and buy it. We hope you enjoy playing it as much as we enjoyed making it. This is insane that this is here. The emotional roller coaster, what it took to get an item produced, licensing with ESPN and Disney. Thank you, Costco, for believing in it. Thank you, DK, for supporting and getting behind it. Thank you. There's so many people, so many things that had to happen right in a year of tariffs to get this to sit here today, right now. It's just crazy. It makes me emotional thinking about it. So what an absolute ride this has been. Thank you.